Uh, okay, good evening, everybody. This is Zulu Sierra 6 Oscar Papa Sierra, now standing by for this evening's check-ins on the Rudderford repeater. Please go ahead with your call signs.
That double echo just nailed me.
All right, acknowledging ZS6SNY. Good evening, Adrian. Let's see if there's anybody else out there at this moment in time. This is ZS6IPS standing by. Okay, good evening, ZS6 Alpha Hotel Yankee Albert, if I remember correctly. Still waiting for you to make contact with me on WhatsApp there. Do I need to give you the number again? ZS6AHY, ZS6OPS.
I'll reply to you soon that we worked at the previously. There six over years, there 681.
Albert, my humble apologies. You're 100% correct. I only realized it after I'd actually handed it back to you. Thanks a lot. Got you there. Yeah, we still need to make a telephone call at some point. I'll try and do it tomorrow evening. If you remind me, it's been a week of you know what. Okay, any other check-ins for tonight's net? ZS6OPS standing by.
There is six over or there is six or even if that, I won't go around that website. There is six over or there is six.
ZS6JFK. First, good evening to you. Trust you are well and all the rest of it. Let's move on. All well this side, just cold and a bit shaken. I thought Elvis was in the house. ZS6OPS standing by for further check-ins. Second last call. Second last call for check-ins. Okay, 1904. Last call for check-ins. Last call for check-ins. ZS6OPS standing by. Got quite a bit of info to disseminate tonight, so I prefer you give me a call sign that I know you're out there. Okay, nothing else heard. Nothing else heard. We're going to start in 30 seconds. I just need to reset the second radio quickly from ZS6OPS. Okay, to all the stations on Hotel 2, just stand by. I just want to reset the timeout timer this side. Right, there we go. We're back up on Hotel 2. Now we're going to begin with the net. Okay, good evening, everybody. Firstly, I'd like to say greetings to one and all and welcome to this week's net. Those that wish to join the net using the Zoom may do so now, as Zoom is open. If you do not have Zoom or the Zoom link at least, please feel free to contact me on WhatsApp 082-859-2684, and I will send you the link with the greatest of pleasure. Today is Sunday, 11 June 2023, and the time is 19:05. We begin the weekly net with the radio amateur check-ins. on the Rudderpoort repeater for 5 minutes before proceeding. This net is broadcast every Sunday evening starting at 1900 and is broadcast for the benefit of radio amateurs, disaster relief cert volunteers and members of the general public. This net is therefore open to all interested parties. ZS6OPS returning. Everyone is welcome to participate using either amateur radio or Zoom or both. And I'd like to remind those radio amateurs who have not checked in that you do not need to be a member of any group or club to check in or to use the repeat or any of the amateur radio bands. All that is required from you is that you have a valid amateur radio license issued by ECRN, which automatically grants you the right to use any of the amateur radio bands at any time. There is no need to ask for or be granted permission from anyone to use the repeaters or amateur radio bands. And I'd also like to encourage all the listeners and participants to share the Weekly Net Zoom link with everyone they know throughout South Africa. Doing so will help us grow the Weekly Net and will contribute to disseminating information as far and wide as possible. Okay, ZS6OPS returning. It's now time to unpack the weekly COVID-19 figures. And just to remind everyone that many of the tracking sites have closed down, including the National Institute of Communicable Diseases, otherwise referred to as the NICD. I can only therefore provide information provided by or supplied by and published by the World Health Organization. So globally, we have 767,750,853 cases in total reported by the WHO as at 0600 on the 7th of June, compared to the 767,364,000 cases in the previous week. This week, we see a total of 385,970 cases, which is down from last week's 469,808. The death toll now stands at 6,941,095, compared to last week's figure of 6,938,353. This week, we see an increase of 2,742 cases, slightly up on the previous week's 2,464. Okay, ZS6OPS returning. Trying to clear a frog in the throat. My apologies to Hotel 2 listeners. Mpox has now been reported at 87,929 cases globally, and this figure is at the 5th of June in total, compared to the previous week's 87,858. This is an increase of 71 new cases this week, whereas the previous week's increase was 329. ZS6OPS returning. South Africa reported no new Mpox cases or deaths and still stands at 5 confirmed cases. Cholera, on the other hand, this has been a major problem yet again this week to actually figure out what the figures are looking like. However, the closest I'm able to determine as a result of News 24 reports on the 11th of June, where the figure is standing at 166 confirmed cases in total, with 32 deaths now. There's been an additional death in the Free State, bringing the total deaths now to 32. However, over 600 suspected cases have been admitted to or treated in hospital, and of course, only 166 are laboratory confirmed. Hammanskraal being the area affected the worst, where over 200 cases of diarrheal disease were admitted to the Jubilee Hospital during the past 2 to 3 weeks. The National Department of Health in the interim set up a field hospital in order for the hospital to be able to cope with the influx and overflow of patients. And of course, both the National Department of Health and the NCID are not providing accurate reports officially on any of their websites and it is rather difficult. Mumps, let's move on mumps. And mumps, there's no further updates since 26th of May, reflecting 580 cases, with 280 cases being in the KZN area. I just need to clear a timer here quickly. And I think it actually died on the other side as well. No, it didn't. Okay, so Hotel 2 is still going out via the relay, which means that we can actually continue. Okay, ZS6OP is returning. So the 580 cases a month, with KZN sitting at 280, Mpumalanga with 97, and Gauteng province at 64 cases to date. No further updates as well regarding diphtheria. We still sit with 2 laboratory confirmed cases of toxigenic diphtheria disease, which were identified in April of this year. One was in the Western Cape, a child, and the other an adult in KZN. And of course, diphtheria may also be circulating undetected in other provinces, which is why the call is still going out for all clinicians throughout the country. They are urged to have a high index of suspicion for diphtheria, and to notify suspected cases and to send specimens to the laboratory for testing. Now, following the current outbreak of measles, I'm including the weekly figures still in the interest of public health and, of course, public safety as well. So as at 9 June 2023, South Africa has a total of 1,060 reported cases of measles compared to last week's total of 1,040. So we had 20 new cases this week. SA is again still adding cases on a weekly basis late. So we, in actual fact, will get a figure today, and then next week it will be adjusted for today's figure yet again. With measles, Limpopo is still reporting the highest number of cases of 476, whereas last week it was at 459. Northwest at 217, no change week on week, and Gauteng increased by 3, taking us from 173 to 176 new cases. Well, not new cases, but 3 new cases. As I said, these figures again are skewed, so week 22 and 23 definitely is not going to be as accurate as I would have hoped. Okay, ZS6OP is returning. Now, as we on the West Rand have again seen many areas without electricity for days on end, we were also subjected to not having water in certain areas due to the sabotage and theft of cables of the power infrastructure in Soweto. This not only led to tripping of some areas, but also resulted in some stations, that's power stations, igniting and burning the equipment crucial to providing supply. Overall, Rand Water was again subjected to not being able to pump water from the Acre North pump station, causing virtually all the reservoirs between here and Rustenburg and the towers to run dry, literally run dry. And I'd just like to mention, as a side note there, that certain complexes, certain units, certain residents within the Constantia Kloof area in particular have been without power for 6 days. We went through a 2 and 3 day period of no water to low pressure, but now we are sitting with these residential properties, no electricity for 6 days. And of course, each time load shedding comes to an end, more and more of the houses are in actual fact being affected. And reports are coming through now of additional premises being added to the list. The scary part about it is that we have elderly residents in the area, 80, 82, 94, that are residing in the area. And these elderly people are actually in these units on their own. And of course, plans have been made to get their families to come in and to assist and do whatever. That is how bad this situation is at the moment. Z6 OPS returning. Now, on the point of water, I think that the world has just witnessed one of the worst humanitarian disasters in a very long time, following the damage that was caused by an explosion at the Kakhovka. Let me try that slowly. I've got to go slow on this one. Kakhovka Dam in southern Ukraine, unleashing mass flooding, forcing thousands of residents to flee and wreaking environmental havoc. And I just need to spell that name for you of the dam. It's Kilo Alpha Kilo. Now you know why I said I need to go slow. And then it continues Hotel Oscar Victor Kilo Alpha. So not even a bottle of vodka would have helped. All right, now at this stage I need to point out, and I don't mean to accuse, or at least I do not accuse anyone of any wrongdoing or any party or otherwise. However, that in the event that this explosion was caused by any side party to the Ukraine-Russia war, such an action is in actual fact in contravention of the Geneva Conventions and most definitely the protocols as well. Now, as a result of the explosion that has been experienced, a very large portion of the dam wall has been obliterated, and of course now the flooding has reached out to 600 square kilometers of the area, which is now underwater, and thousands of people are being evacuated. Further to that, additional Geneva Convention protocols, Geneva Conventions and protocols may be being in the process of being violated at the moment as well, as the fighting is continuing during this evacuation process. And I'm sure the International Committee of the Red Cross is going to try and seek ways of bringing about a ceasefire in order for a safe passage to be granted to the displacees of the low-lying areas below the dam. Okay, it's Z6 OPS returning. And finally, in the early hours of this morning, Gauteng was awoken to Elvis being in the house, with many feeling the 5.0, which is now being declared a 4.4, I think it is, magnitude earthquake, which occurred 6 kilometers south of Alberton at a depth of approximately 10 kilometers. Okay. Just for the benefit of the radio amateurs, that's in the Tokoza Katlong area that this particular event occurred. However, as a result of it, we are seeing the spread of false news and information stating that more earthquakes are expected and at higher magnitudes, etc., etc. And I'd like to point out that such warnings can only be issued through the official communication channels of the South African authorities. And it's done by these warnings are done by the appropriate organizations who are responsible for monitoring and reporting specific events. For example, the SA Weather Service is responsible for all the weather-related warnings, and the Council for Geoscience is responsible for earthquake-related information and warnings. The municipal, provincial, and national disaster management centers and other local emergency management services, that's EMS, are the only other organizations or entities that can issue primary warnings through the appropriate channels and media releases. Information can only then be disseminated through invested stakeholders, NGOs, NPOs, and community-based organizations once the warnings have been officially announced. Now, as a responsible disaster relief NGO, disaster relief circles on all local residents, firstly to keep calm, and secondly to refrain from giving informal warnings. Z6 OPS returning. Now, finally, in closing, I'd like to encourage everyone to register as a disaster relief CERT volunteer and to prepare and train to assist local communities when disaster strikes. Let's have a look and see. That's the end of the bulletin, or at least that's the end of the net this evening. Let's see if there are any other radio amateurs who would like to check in, and I'll add you to the end of this week's list. Please go ahead now. Z6 OPS standing by. Okay, nothing else heard. I'd like to thank all of those who have checked in this week, as well as those who have joined via Zoom. And as the COVID-19 pandemic is still ongoing and is still infecting millions weekly, please remember to physically distance yourself and to wear a mask to protect others, especially the elderly who could lose their lives if infected with COVID-19. Remember that it is always best to sanitize or wash your hands on a regular basis in any event. Doing so will also assist in stopping the spread of other respiratory diseases as well. So for the week moving forward, be safe, be prepared, and of course be happy. This is Zulu Sierra 6 Oscar Papa Sierra, now releasing the Roodepoort repeater for general use. Cheers all. Just check that the relay is still up and then I'll disconnect. Fantastic. It's the first time I'm doing the relay for this amount of time. Okay, so to all the stations monitoring Hotel 2 this evening, thank you very much. If you did listen in, please don't forget to just send me a message on the WhatsApp group so that I know that you were in actual fact there. And I'm sure we'll do the same thing next week. Although, yeah, we'll do it next week as well. Thanks a lot, everybody. Echo 1 out. Thanks, 1009. Was the transmission okay? Over. Yeah, I was doing that deliberately to find out if somebody would tell me on the group to stop coughing, then I would have known that the relay was still up and operational. Over. Okay, good stuff. Thanks very much. Next week, I'll let everybody know about the Zoom link. You can join in there as well. Thank you. Echo 1 clear. Cheers.